Hello, hello, Young and the Restless Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Thursday, July the 20th, 2023. Thursday, July the 20th. Not a lot happened on today's episode. To me, it really kind of just, wow, they could have summed that up in 15 minutes, right? Let's see what we got. We have Ashley talking to Diane, telling Diane, yeah, Phyllis is free. She got out well, she's arrested, but did you know she got out on bail? And Diane looked at her, wait, kind of shocked her, threw her for a minute. What? She goes, yeah. And she's not even wearing an ankle monitor like you were. Ooh, that's gotta really make you mad. And Diane just looked at her like, well, no. I mean, Phyllis still has to go to trial, and she goes, yeah, but and Ashley was saying, just trying to needle her, I know you've got some feelings about that. And oh, you this, you that. And Diane's like, no, you know what? I'm not even going to engage. She's saying what's gonna happen to Phyllis is gonna happen to Phyllis because Phyllis and I both were victims of Dare Me Start. So I kind of understand being made to do something you didn't want to do. And Ashley's looking at her like, oh, come on, you could tell me how you really feel. You're saying all this now, but when you run face to face into Phyllis, what's that's going to be like? She said, soon enough, Phyllis will be knocking on this door, trying to worm her way back into Jack and Kyle's good graces. And Diane's like, well, I doubt that. And Ashley goes, no, Phyllis will do a lot. Mm-hmm. So Diane says, well, you know what, Ashley, like I said, if it's one thing I've learned, I wish Phyllis well. Whatever happens to her in the trial, it happens to her. I'm not going to obsess about her. I'm not going to think about it. Right. So she goes, and I have an appointment. So she leaves and Ashley's sitting there like that didn't quite get the rise I wanted. Right. So now we have Phyllis still talking to Tucker. And every word out of his mouth is, I can make the EMT disappear. And he's not even talking quietly in a private place. That's what's interesting to me. It cost me a pretty penny to get him to do what he's doing, a lot of money. But I could get him to do something else. Phyllis is like, you know what? I get it. I understood what you said like yesterday, right? And she said, I just got out on bail today. Give me some time. Because he goes, what's your plan? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? When you start, how you gonna get, in Jack and Kyle's good grade? She goes, Tucker, you gotta give me a minute. He says, yeah, but it seems like you drank. She goes, what do you mean? She says, what would it look like if the first thing I did was go to Jack and Kyle when I haven't even taken any time to mend my own family? What would that look like, Tucker? And he goes, okay, okay. She goes, I've hurt my children. It would be natural for me to want to make sure they're okay, which is what I'm going to do. And he goes, well, Summer could play an instrumental part in Jack and Gibbs. She goes, wait, I want you to stop right there. Summer will not be used in anything. Nothing. Yeah, like I said, Carson, that testimony can go either way. She goes, and it sure can, but I'm going to tell you right now, my daughter won't be used. I don't care how that testimony goes. So Diane walks into society and she says, she sees Phyllis and Tucker at the table, but you know how Diane, she'll tighten up her bootstraps and she walked right on over there and she goes, Phyllis, Tucker. He goes, Diane, look who's here. And so Diane, wait, which one is this? Diane sits down at the table with Phyllis and Tucker. And Diane, let's see. She says, Phyllis, I see you're out. And she goes, yes, I got a rain today. And she goes, then Phyllis reaches over and she puts her hands on Diane's hands. And Diane initially kind of flinched, but she held her composure. And Phyllis says, Diane, and she's smiling, I want to apologize, sincerely apologize to you, to what I put you through, to the damage I could have done to you, or I did to you. So Diane says, Phyllis, and she pulls one hand out from under Phyllis, puts it on top of Phyllis's hand. See, we got a power play going, right? She goes, I forgive you. And Phyllis looks at her. She goes, I know exactly what it's like to be under the control of Jeremy Stark. I know he makes you do things you don't want to do things you never thought you would do, and you feel there's no way out. Because I felt the same way. So I forgive you, Phyllis. And Tucker leans up and he goes, wait a minute, Diane. And I'm thinking he's abnormally loud to me, untucker like, right? Don't you want to just punch Phyllis in the face? And he puts his hands on both of their hands, right? And they both snatch their hands out, like, oh, Tucker. And Diane says, no, I don't, Tucker. I mean what I said. And Phyllis says, and I do too. I mean, harboring a grudge has just cost me way too much, Diane. I'm going to be making amends with everybody. And so Phyllis looks and Tucker goes, really, Phyllis? Really? Is that all you got? And I'm thinking, I know you ain't even blowing your cover or her cover. And she looks at Tucker and she goes, that's all I got. And she goes, I have someplace I need to be. So Phyllis stands up and she walks away. And Tucker looks at Diane and he goes, good act. I know you didn't mean that. And Diane said, I meant every word of it, Tucker. She got up, she goes to another table, she sits down on her tablet. And Tucker's thinking, oh no, I wanted more of a fight going on here. So he comes over and he says something to Diane. I can't think of what he said to Diane, but she still kind of snubbed him off. And Tucker walks away, but her back was to him because he's walking away. And her eyes were like, man, this is going to take a lot of me, because she does hate Phyllis to her core. And she flashed back to the last time they were together, because Ashley brought it up, when Phyllis, and she realizes Phyllis goaded her into choking her. But nonetheless, she's realizes, oh my God, I'm going to really have to be on my A game not to blow up, because she doesn't trust Phyllis. Who does trust Phyllis? We all know Phyllis is lying through her teeth about trying to make amends, right? So anyway, we have Phyllis goes to the GCAC. She's going to check in, right? So she's going to check in, and Christine was on the phone. So of course, Christine goes, I'll call you back, whoever she was on the phone with. And Phyllis is like, you don't have to hang up the phone because of me, Christine. And so she looks at Phyllis, and Christine couldn't help her. So now she's going in, and she goes, Phyllis is like, look, I'm just here checking in. And she goes, yeah, it must be nice to be able to check in as yourself versus the aliases you've been using and blah, blah, blah. And Phyllis is like, Christine, I know you've had it in for me for years, but I believe justice is going to be served because I'm innocent of murder, innocent. It was self-defense. And so Christine says, yeah, maybe, or maybe not. She says, but I do know what you're capable of. And she goes, see, you can't stop. You can't live in the present. You always got to live in the past, Christine. And so she looked at Phyllis. She goes, being run over by a car, sticks with you. So Phyllis is like, I got things to do. So she walks over to the bar area, and Christine couldn't help herself. She had to follow her. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you're not even supposed to be talking to Phyllis without her lawyer present, right? What's happening here? So anyway, she follows Phyllis over to the desk. She goes, I want to know. I just have to know. Why did you come back? She said, I came back because my children were hurting. I came back because I was done running. So she goes, yeah, but it seems like you knew something else was going to happen. Do you have something else you want to confess to me, Phyllis? Phyllis looked at her. She says, I don't know what you're talking about. It was self-defense. My story was corroborated. Everything I'm saying is true. So you believe it or not. And Christine just looked at her and she says, I will be going wherever the evidence leads me, and I'm going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. And Phyllis is like, yep, almost like, good luck with that. You've tried that before. But she didn't get too snippy with her, because once Phyllis gets to be too snippy and too snippy talking, she lets stuff slip out of her mouth. But she didn't let nothing slip with Christine. She didn't say anything that Christine could sink her teeth in and go off on a tangent with that. So then Tucker gets home. Tucker's trying to talk to Ashley. Ashley's on her tablet, and he says, I want to talk about our wedding. And Ashley goes, I just can't, Tucker. I'm Jack. She found out Jack was in New York. One of her colleagues called and told her he was having a meeting with key board members. She goes, he's trying to put a move, and we have to be prepared. So Tucker said, well, what do you think he's doing? She's probably trying to make sure you don't take your patents, probably, or pull your company, your company out of Jabot. And so she goes, but it's okay, we need to be able to counteract that. He goes, okay, I have a shark attorney that I could put on the case. She goes, good, let's do that, right? We need to be prepared. Because Billy was saying, because she said, Tucker passed Billy. Billy was saying they're going to fight with all they have if I try to take anything from Jabot. So Tucker said, they'll get on it, but let's talk about our wedding. She goes, Tucker, I've got too much on my mind to plan a wedding. She goes, no, but he said planning a wedding was all a part of, the deal to get under Jack's skin. And so she goes, you know what? Perhaps I don't want our wedding to be a part of that. And he's like, what are you talking about, Ashley? She goes, perhaps I don't want our wedding to be all a part of a ruse or a way to get a rise out of Jack or part of the scheme. She said, perhaps I want our wedding to be real. And if it's going to be real, it can't be a part of this. And he looked at her, he goes, wait, are you saying you want to marry me for real? And she goes, kind of. And so he goes, kind of. Yesterday, you wouldn't even tell me you love me. And now you're saying today, you really want our wedding to be a real wedding? And she said, yes, because I think I'm falling in love with you. And then she leans in. See, Ashley does what Ashley does. Oh, she leans in and she kisses him. And Tucker's like, okay, like this is what I want to hear. This is what I want to feel. And I'm like, Ashley, you're stringing this man along. You're going to pull the rug out from under him. And he's already proven he's the one with the connections. He can find people that other people can't. He has sharp shyster attorneys, right? Ashley, he's going to make mincemeat of you and your patents and your part of the company if you cross him. See, you're so busy trying to say, help us get this out of Jabot's control, but what kind of prenup, what kind of protections are you putting in place for you? Because those are your patents. So if this marriage don't work out between you and Tucker, if you guys have to dissolve your company. What was yours is yours, and what was his was his. We'll see. Ashley thinks she's, doing some things, but she's going to end up being hurt in the end because she's not coming at Tucker correctly. She's not. She's not coming honest. I know she's been hurt by him before. I know a large part of that. But playing with fire only goes so far. Playing with fire, Ashley. So anyway, that was it. And no comments from Comment Corner. Let's see. I mean, it almost feels like they're just stretching stuff out, but who knows? Who knows what's happening? But The Young and the Restless, historically, it moves slow anyway. So this is just business as usual on The Young and the Restless. I'll be back tomorrow for another daily recap.